Greetings, Titans! Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Dave. This is Dave Takes It On. We investigate the conspiracy theory that EVs are a government plot to get us all to drive EVs, and then they're going to hit us hard once we're committed. Well, here we go. Well, thanks to all you Titans for your views and comments as to why we're being forced into EVs. Or are we? The comments concentrate on subsidies, bans on ICE, electricity price hikes, pay per mile and dozens of others. So we'll start by looking at what the government is actually doing. So if we go back to basics of psychology, human psychology, if you want someone to do something, the best and quickest way is just to pay them to do it, or make it so financially attractive that you'd be mad to do anything else. The second best, if step one doesn't work, is legislation. Well, recent examples of the carrot approach are, if you want private investors to fund a new nuclear power reactor, you simply offer them an obscene rate per kilowatt hour generated and a guaranteed minimum number of units purchased each year. Then the stick approach. Seatbelts, where repeated pleas to wear them fell on deaf ears, so finally wearing them was made a legal requirement. Well, both of these work, but the carrot approach makes people feel better, while the stick causes anger and often resentment. So what's the government really up to? Well, they blame global warming, climate change and pollution. They've all signed up to various agreements like the Paris Agreement, Net Zero, Carbon Neutral 2050 and various others. They sound really serious targets, so is it all real and is it necessary? Well, to answer the first theory, if this is just a sneaky way to do over the gullible EV owners at some future date, it's a remarkably stupid and expensive method. They're saying that you spend hundreds of billions subsidising people to adopt EVs with no promise that we will, then subsidise industries to build a huge charging infrastructure, plus you then give them huge tax breaks to make salary sacrifice for EVs really attractive, and then you sit back and wait, all the while destroying millions of existing jobs? That seems crazy to me, but if it was me that had to raise money, my first thought would be to just, increase fuel duty or put up vehicle excise duty, road tax, and settle back collecting the money until the howls of protest eventually die down. As a way of raising money, setting up an elaborate industry taking more than 2 decades to mature is sheer lunacy. So we can scratch that one as a conspiracy theory. That one makes absolutely no sense. So how about the other theory that they just want to force us to drive EVs? And this one is dismissed even quicker. First, the government already subsidises the oil industry that makes petrol and diesel. They tax all new ICE cars. There's a vehicle tax with the price. Then they road tax, vehicle excise duty them every single year. And they charge massive amount of fuel duty and VAT on every litre of fuel. Make people drive electric, and that all disappears overnight. In fact, the theorists actually use that as a justification by asking, how is the government going to replace the tax and duty lost? Well, this one is pure insanity as a money-generating scheme. The loss far exceeds any possible future profit. This one's just pure lunacy as a conspiracy theory. So any financial motive for promoting EVs is unlikely in the extreme. Let's move on. Are global warming and climate change and pollution really serious worries? Well, these also fail on the same 2 arguments. We were perfectly happy subsidising the oil giants, encouraging ICE cars on the road by building new roads all the time and expanding motorways, turning them into smart motorways so that they can handle even more cars and travel even faster. It was all going so smoothly. Oh, and then MPs often end up with cushy jobs as non-executive directors on ludicrous salaries once they finish their work as MPs. There is absolutely no incentive to bring all that crashing down when EVs have no hope of taking over it. Doing absolutely nothing is by far both the easiest and cheapest option. Just leave things alone. It's cheaper, and besides, everything's working fine. So immediate financial gains are off the table. Upsetting the status quo is harder than doing nothing. So in pure energy terms, it would be far less effort to do absolutely nothing at all. And that leaves us with two likely motives for doing anything, spending huge fortunes and upsetting their voters. Well, the first of those is doing nothing now is likely to end up costing far more in the future. Now, an example is called for. You have toothache. It will cost you money and probably hurt a lot to get it fixed. So just put it off. However, if you do nothing, the tooth will probably rot until it weakens and either breaks or falls out. That is obviously not a good solution. You now have fewer teeth, and it's highly likely that more will also be affected until possibly you lose them all. That would make the problem far more expensive to try to tackle at that later stage. So the obvious answer is get the tooth fixed as soon as you know there is a problem. But do we do that? I'll leave that up to you. Well, next is the possibility that the problem is actually so great it will actually kill you. Well, that's a lot worse than a rotten tooth. An example here would be drug addiction. Drugs, I am told, make you feel either really good or they're really good at removing your worries and fears for a short while. They're also very highly addictive, and you might not be able to stop in the future. So nobody in their right mind really would take them, surely. But yeah, they do. But once addicted, there are only two possible outcomes. And the hardest one is trying to quit, get clean, break the addiction. Even when faced with the alternative, it takes more effort and determination than many are able to provide. So, back to global warming, climate change, pollution. If either of these outcomes is possible, then that would certainly spur all the governments around the world into action sooner or later. Just before we explore that, can I ask you to subscribe? It is free, it costs nothing at all but a click, but it makes an enormous difference to a young channel like ours. Anyway, if the cost of doing something right now is cheaper and easier than waiting, then do something right now. If the possibility exists that if you leave it too late, it might kill off all your citizens, then that goes directly against the primary role of any government to protect its citizens. And all of the scientists are reporting that there is a very real possibility of both of these events. Well, to my simple mind, I can add nothing to the findings of highly qualified, highly trained, highly experienced scientists. My meteorology training as a Royal Navy helicopter pilot is meaningless when looking at the climate on a global scale. No amount of scouring Google or YouTube is going to get me anywhere near being qualified to make a serious argument or conclusion of my own. So I go with the flow. If most scientists believe these possibilities are likely, that is good enough for me. But what if they're all wrong, every single one of them? Well, I seriously hope and pray that they are totally and completely wrong. I hope next month they all announce, whoa, the climate change has reversed all on its own, and we better start generating more carbon dioxide or we're going to enter a new ice age. If all we've done is wasted a load of money, I'll be quite happy. After all, every single one of us, and you, already does this at their own private level. I talk here about insurance. Life insurance, house insurance, pet insurance. None of these pay out anything at all unless a specific event happens. They are not an investment. So, all insurance could be considered to be a total and complete waste of money. Until you need it. And if ever you do need it, you'll praise your foresight for buying it in the first place. No longer a waste of money, but a very wise investment. Thanks for watching. I'm Dave. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Everyone does count. Leave comments down below if you agree or disagree. If you would, please subscribe. It makes such a difference to the channel. And also have a look at our Patreon membership so you can support the channel in a much more active way. I'm Dave.